Okay, the House Oversight Committee is now launching a task force on defending constitutional rights and exposing institutional abuses. Congressman Brandon Gill of Texas will be leading this new effort to reform government institutions that have been weaponized against the American people. And the work starts today with a brand new investigation into Medicaid fraud recently uncovered in Ohio. Here now with all the details are House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer and the chairman of that new task force, Brandon Gill. Gentlemen, great to see you both. Thank you both for joining. Let me start with you, Congressman Comer. Why do we need a subcommittee that does this?
Well, the full committee's been focused a lot on the deep state abuses like the one you mentioned in your last segment. But what this new task force led by Congressman Gill is going to be focused on institutional abuses with, obviously from government institutions as well as politically connected nonprofits and many universities. These are things that have flown under the radar. We believe they violated the Constitution. We believe that there have been many instances of discrimination, and that's what this task force is going to be focused solely on. And I think that there's not a better person in America to lead this task force than Congressman Brandon Gill.
Well, Congressman Gill, I love that your first mission is to go after this Medicaid fraud in Ohio, or apparent Medicaid fraud in Ohio. And, one of the things you often hear about government fraud like this is that it's like a victimless crime or something like that. It is not a victimless crime. It is a very serious crime, and the people who always end up the true victims are the taxpayers and the people, the rightful recipients of these funds.
That's exactly right. And the American people are sick of seeing their tax dollars wasted and seeing government organizations or nonprofit institutions, colleges, businesses abuse the American people. And that's what we're going after with this task force. What we found with this Ohio fraud scandal is that we've got what we believe to be billions of dollars that have been defrauded from American taxpayers that should have been going to benefit the American people. And instead, we're being laundered through a wide variety of shell companies that were acting as intermediaries to facilitate payments to organizations that weren't providing any type of health care. Ostensibly, this was going towards companionship services where we can't even verify that the services were actually provided, where there was no verification that the people providing these services had any medical training whatsoever, and there were no caps on the spending for these programs. And again, this is billions of dollars, and this is what the American people are sick of, and what we're going to work hard and diligently to put an end to with this task force.
Congressman Comer, what are some of the other areas that you, in your experience investigating these things, where that will be ripe for this committee or subcommittee?
Well, obviously, we want to focus like a laser on fraud. We believe that when you talk about health care, which is an issue the Democrats are trying to make as their issue in the election, they want to cite changes made and reforms made in the big, beautiful bill. We are making reforms to try to put guardrails on this spending. The American people are going to be outraged. They are outraged what they've seen in Minneapolis with the Somali fraud. They're outraged what they've seen in Los Angeles County with the hospice fraud. And now what I think you're going to see with Brandon Gill uncover is fraud in all 50 states with respect to the Medicaid program, under the guise of minority contracts, under the guise of new programs the Democrats want to start with no guardrails. There's no accountability. There's been no auditing. And the American people realize that. They see it every day, and they're going to see it even more after this task force gets started. It's going to allow us to be able to make the needed reforms in Congress to save taxpayer dollars, and that's what the American people want.
Yeah. Congressman Gill, what has been the reaction among your colleagues when, I know that you're just starting the subcommittee, but what has been the reaction from your Democrat colleagues when you ask good questions about some of this fraud?
Well, what Republicans are doing are fighting to make sure that American tax dollars are being spent wisely. What Democrats want to do is weaponize the federal government and state governments and agencies to launder tax dollars to give to their political allies to effectively buy off votes. That's what we saw in Minnesota, and what it seems to be we could be finding in certain parts in Ohio and other states across the country as well. What we're doing is we're taking away one of the key arms that the Democrat Party apparatus has used in order to win elections, in order to win over people. It's wildly, just flagrantly corrupt. And again, this is what the American people are sick of. Whenever you pay your taxes every single year, you want to make sure that your money is actually going to programs that benefit the American people, not programs that benefit explicitly the Democrat Party.
It turns out that $1 trillion federal budget is a very effective way to get yourself reelected, and Democrats have figured that out. Congressman Comer, Congressman Gill, thank you both so much, and good luck to you.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.